The WTA was forced to address what happened inside that court in Linz, and the full story is far more complicated than the scoreboard suggests. Eala had Jelena Ostapenko on the ropes, a 5-1 lead in the second set, 4 set points in her hand, and somehow, impossibly, it all slipped away. But here's what the highlights didn't show you. A heckler in the stands, a viral confrontation, racist accusations flooding the internet, a public apology, and an official conversation that some fans believe changed the entire outcome of this match. Stay with us, because by the time we reach the end of this story, you're going to have a very different picture of what actually happened inside that Austrian arena on April 8th, 2026. Was this just a tennis match, or was it something far messier than anyone wants to admit? To understand what happened in Linz, you have to go back to the beginning of this rivalry. And it's not a long story, but it is an electric one. Eala is 20 years old. She is ranked number 45 in the world. She was born in Quezon City in the Philippines, trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy in Spain, and she carries the weight of an entire nation on her shoulders every single time she walks onto a tennis court. That is not a metaphor. That is a documented, lived reality. Filipino fans literally travel the globe to watch her play. They bring flags, they bring noise, they bring the kind of passion that most Western tennis players have never experienced in their careers. And Jelena Ostapenko is everything Eala is not, at least on paper. The 28-year-old Latvian is a former French Open champion. She has won 9 WTA singles titles and 12 doubles titles. She is the 4th seed at Linz, a tournament she has previously conquered. She is ranked number 23 in the world. She is experienced, ferocious, and famous for playing the kind of all-or-nothing, flat ball aggression that can dismantle the best players on the planet in under an hour. Before April 8th, these two had met twice on tour. Both times, Eala won. The first was the most iconic. March 2025, the Miami Open, where Eala arrived as a wild card ranked number 140 in the world and sent Ostapenko packing in straight sets as part of a run that included wins over Madison Keys and Iga Świątek. The second came at the Eastbourne International, where Ostapenko retired mid-match due to injury, so the head-to-head read 2-0 to Eala. And Linz was supposed to be where Ostapenko finally wrote her answer. What none of us expected was just how chaotic that answer would become. Eala came into Linz ranked number 46, slightly down from her career high of number 29 after dropping points for Miami. This was her clay court season opener. She had already secured a first-round victory over Julia Grabher the day before. She was sharp, she was focused, she was ready. And when she walked out to face Ostapenko in the round of 16, the Filipino contingent in the crowd were fully alive, singing and cheering as they always do. But here is a detail that matters. Ostapenko knew this match was coming before it began. Quote, "When I saw the draw, I was like, wow, that's a tough first round," she admitted afterward. She's a great player. A former Grand Slam champion walking into a match already bracing for impact. That tells you everything about what Eala has become on the WTA Tour. Hold on, because when the match actually started, things got even more intense than anybody predicted. And by the middle of the second set, one moment would light the whole arena on fire. The first set played out like a chess match at bullet speed. Eala moved to a 4-2 lead in the opening set, dictating from the baseline, stepping inside the court, and using her left-handed topspin to push Ostapenko deep and out of position. For those 6 games, she was in complete control. She looked like the better player. She looked like a player who had already worked out Ostapenko's game from their previous meetings and was executing a plan with surgical precision. And then Ostapenko did what Ostapenko does. She reached into that reserve of aggressive first-strike tennis that won her Roland Garros in 2017 and unleashed it in 4 straight games. Eala led 4-2, then it was 4-3, then 4-4, then 5-4, then 6-4. The first set was gone, just like that. Ostapenko fired winners from all areas of the court, flattening her ground strokes and removing every margin for error Eala had given her. The final winner count in this match would tell the full story. Ostapenko hit 41 winners to Eala's 9. 41, that is not a misprint. When Ostapenko is on, she does not play tennis, she wages war. But Eala did not fold. She came out in the second set with an entirely different level of intensity. She opened the court, broke Ostapenko's serve early, and suddenly the scoreline read 4-0 in the second set to the Filipina. 2 clean service breaks. Eala was now in complete command of the rally exchanges, and Ostapenko was visibly searching for answers she didn't have. The crowd, which had been electric throughout, grew even louder, and in the stands, the Filipino fans were on their feet. Then it went to 5-1, 1 game away from a deciding third set, 1 game away from making this a completely open match. 4 set points on the board, the crowd was roaring, and it was at this exact pivotal moment that the most talked about moment of the entire match exploded into life. Ostapenko, serving at 1-4 and 15-40 down, the most pressured position of the match, suddenly stopped. She turned to the crowd. A spectator, believed to be sitting in the vicinity of the Filipino fan section, had been making persistent comments loud enough to distract her at the line. What exactly was said has not been confirmed, but what Ostapenko did next was captured on video and seen by millions of people within hours. She held her racket out toward the stands, looked directly at the offender, and said in front of a live broadcast audience, "How you play. Come here now. Come play tennis." The arena stopped breathing. And then it got even bigger, because what happened next turned a tennis match into an international incident.
The clip spread within the hour. One Twitter account posted the video with the caption, "Penko is not happy with the crowd and just told someone to come take her racket and play so she can learn how to play from them." It accumulated hundreds of thousands of views by midnight. Another clip showed Ostapenko in close conversation with a tournament official and the chair umpire, pointing toward a section of the crowd and delivering a clear message. If these people continue again, out. If it's again, he's out. If one more time, out. She wanted the spectator removed, officially, on the record. Now, here is where the story became much, much more complicated, because within hours of the match ending, Ostapenko winning 6-4, 7-5, a wave of commentary emerged on social media suggesting that her reaction to the crowd was not just about a distraction. Some accounts, particularly from Filipino fan communities, began framing Ostapenko's behavior as disrespectful not just to a heckler, but to a section of the crowd defined by their national identity. The implication, which grew louder and faster than any official statement, was that Ostapenko's confrontation had racial undertones directed at the Filipino fan section. Within a day, Ostapenko had received enough messages to address it publicly. "Wow, how many messages I received that I am a racist," she wrote in a statement posted to social media. "I was never racist in my life, and I respect all nations of people in the world. For me, it doesn't matter where you come from. There are some rules in tennis, and unfortunately, when the crowd is with you, you can't use it in a disrespectful way to your opponent." She issued a public apology. Let that sit for a moment. A top 30 WTA player, a Grand Slam champion, felt compelled to issue a formal, public apology after winning a tennis match. Because the internet, in all of its complicated, passionate, cross-cultural noise, had decided the story was bigger than a heckler in the stands. Eala is beloved not just in the Philippines, but globally, and her fans are fiercely protective of her. They had watched their player lead 5-1. They had watched the momentum shift. They had watched Ostapenko confront a person in their section, and they had drawn their own conclusions. The question is, were those conclusions fair? That is the question at the heart of this entire story. And to answer it honestly, we need to look at exactly what happened between that 5-1 lead and the final scoreline of 7-5.
Let's talk about what actually happened on the court, because the tennis itself was remarkable. When Ostapenko held her racket out to the crowd at 1-4, 15-40, she was in the most dangerous position of the match. Eala had 4 set points. She needed one of them to fall. And in another version of this match, in 90% of other matches at this level, at least one of those set points becomes a third set. But what happened instead was one of the more stunning reversals of the 2026 WTA season so far. Ostapenko saved every single set point. And then, from that moment of confronting the crowd, from that burst of anger and defiance, something shifted inside her. According to her own post-match words, she made a mental adjustment.
I was down in the second set, and I told myself, okay, I'm going to fight. I will do everything possible. I will fight to the end of this set. And if there's a third set, it's fine. I still have another chance. And then she added the key line. I think it worked pretty well. It did more than work pretty well. She won 6 consecutive games from that 1-5 position to close the match. 6 games in a row. That is not just a comeback, that is a dismantling. She reduced her errors, applied structured aggression from the baseline, and raised her net play to a level that Eala simply could not match in those final exchanges. She was revitalized. Some reporters on site noted that the confrontation with the heckler seemed to ignite her rather than rattle her. And here is the detail that has been widely discussed since. Ostapenko is a former champion at Linz. She has history on that court, memories in that building, and the crowd, her crowd, fed her energy back when she needed it most. In her post-match comments, she was effusive about the Austrian fans. I have great memories from here. It's an amazing place here to play. So, the question becomes, did the crowd and Ostapenko's confrontation with a specific member of it shift the emotional momentum of that match? Did the act of stopping, turning, and publicly addressing a heckler become the moment that refocused Ostapenko from losing to winning? The numbers suggest yes. The timeline suggests yes. Ostapenko trailing 1-5 and losing. The confrontation, then 6 straight games. There is no WTA rule against it. There was no code violation issued. There was no official misconduct finding. Ostapenko addressed a disruptive spectator, alerted officials, and got back to playing tennis. What followed was extraordinary tennis. But the perception, particularly among Eala's global fan base, was that something was taken from their player in that second set. And perception, in the era of social media, carries its own kind of weight. And yet, there is one more layer to the story, one that almost nobody has been talking about: the clay.
Eala had Jelena Ostapenko. She had 5-1, she had 4 set points, she had the crowd, her crowd, roaring, and she lost the match. Was it the heckler? Was it the surface? Was it the experience gap between a 28-year-old champion and a 20-year-old still learning clay? Was it all three colliding at the worst possible moment for one of the most exciting young players in women's tennis? The scoreboard says Ostapenko won. The controversy says something more complicated happened inside that court, and Eala's next chapter, Stuttgart, then Roland Garros, will say more about her character and resilience than any one result ever could. Because players like Eala are not defined by the leads they lose. They are defined by what they do next. The only question left is this: when these two meet again, and they will, who is going to blink first? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you believe the WTA needs clearer crowd conduct policies to protect moments like this, let us know. This conversation is not over. If this breakdown gave you the full picture that nobody else was telling, hit subscribe. We cover women's tennis the way it deserves to be covered: the drama, the truth, and everything the highlights leave out, every single week.